Bruce Lee is a name synonymous with martial arts. He literally changed the way the world thinks about combat, and he invented his own fighting system, Jeet Kune Do. So why don't we see this style of martial arts dominating in the octagon today? Some people say Bruce Lee's martial art failed. Some people say he didn't even have any actual fighting experience. They are wrong, and in this video I'm going to explain why Jeet Kune Do is actually everywhere, especially in the octagon. So stick around and let's dive in. Bruce Lee started learning Wing Chun in Hong Kong with the famous master Ip Man. Wing Chun taught Bruce Lee several important principles: economy of motion, direct attacks, and how speed, accuracy and angles can overcome strength and power when used properly. But when Bruce Lee moved to the USA in the 1950s, he began questioning everything. He interacted with many martial artists of different backgrounds. He considered many of these martial arts to be beautiful to look at, but maybe a little detached from the reality of actual fighting. And having grown up street brawling in Hong Kong, he knew a thing or two about this. So these ideas started to influence Bruce Lee's way of thinking, and all of this came to a head with one particular incident. In 1964, Bruce Lee accepted a challenge from Wong Man, a Shaolin disciple, and they agreed to meet and fight in a warehouse in Oakland. There are many different accounts of this fight that have changed over the years, but one important factor is agreed on. Bruce realised his fighting style needed to change. Most sources state that he won the fight, but was actually furious with the way it turned out. It was messy, it took too long, his hands were swollen up from punching continuously. Pretty much it looked nothing like the controlled, efficient style of Wing Chun that he'd studied with Ip Man. And from that moment on, he set out to build something new. Not a fighting style as such, but a philosophy of combat. He combined techniques from a number of styles like boxing, judo, savate, fencing, even street fighting, testing everything through real application. And by 1967, Bruce Lee gave his style a name.
In Cantonese, Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist.
At the core was the principle intercepting an opponent and intercepting an attack. This style wasn't about memorizing techniques. It was about flowing, free movement that could be adapted and altered to any practitioner in any situation. He believed the best defense was a perfectly timed attack that stopped the opponent's momentum mid-flow. And his guiding principle for doing this was simple: absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. So Jeet Kune Do in principle was less about what you did and more about the way you thought.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. Put it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or creep or drip or crash. Be water, my friend.
But Bruce Lee's untimely death in 1973 meant the style never had a chance to develop further under his direct influence. Instead, a number of close friends and students took up the helm, one of the leaders being Dan Inosanto, an Arnis Kali practitioner who had trained with Bruce for a long time. However, as time went by, Jeet Kune Do kind of fractured into two camps. Those who focused on preserving the specific techniques and style that Bruce Lee used in the 1960s, and those who focused more on the concepts of Jeet Kune Do, blending what they already knew with other proven effective approaches like Muay Thai, Kali and Jiu-Jitsu. Each path keeps his tradition of Jeet Kune Do alive, but they do it in very different ways. And that raises a question. If Bruce Lee hadn't died so young, what would Jeet Kune Do look like today? Well, I believe there is an answer for that, and I will tell you at the end of the video. By the way, if you want to go deeper into Bruce Lee's story, particularly the fight between him and Wong Man, I go into a lot of detail about this in my book, The Legendary Masters of Martial Arts. I talk about Bruce Lee's infamous fight, as well as many other tales of the legends of martial arts. And if you want to read further on his philosophies, I'll also link his daughter Shannon Lee's 2020 book, Be Water, My Friend, because this is a great read that captures the philosophies and principles of Jeet Kune Do beautifully. You'll find affiliate links for both of these in the description, so if you want to support the channel and you want me to produce more deep dive contents like this, click through using my links. So why do I say Jeet Kune Do is secretly everywhere? Well, while it may be true that it's never been a commercial success in the way that other martial arts have, we don't have Jeet Kune Do schools on every corner, it has slowly but surely weaved its way into the modern martial arts culture and laid the principle for a lot of what will become modern MMA. So this very philosophy of taking traditional martial arts, testing them out and seeing what works, disregarding what doesn't and absorbing what is useful, has literally become the cornerstone of modern combat sports. And more amazingly than this, we can see from his work that Bruce Lee predicted many of these with stunning accuracy. If you don't believe me, let's have a look at some examples. First of all, we have the oblique kick that Bruce Lee incorporated into Jeet Kune Do from Savate. And this has been widely used with great success by fighters such as John Jones and Conor McGregor. It is simple, effective and devastating. The next example is Bruce Lee's defensive philosophy, using this lead hand jab or the lead leg with a downward side kick to keep your opponent out of range. Once again, both of these were fundamental techniques in early Jeet Kune Do and have been proven successful in the ring again and again, showing that Bruce had great understanding of range as well. And if you want more information about range, you can click on the link up here because I have a video talking about just this. Another great example are the intercepting counters. Jeet Kune Do is literally the way of the intercepting fist, and when you see fighters like Israel Adesanya or Stephen Wonderboy Thompson who use these counter-strike jabs, front kicks and side kicks against opponents, intercepting them and stopping their momentum, we get a great example of the Jeet Kune Do style. We can also see a lot of influence from Wing Chun, which was incorporated into Jeet Kune Do and is now used in modern MMA. Just look at some of the hand trapping that takes place, particularly with fighters such as Anderson Silva, who at times even moves like Bruce Lee, and Tony Ferguson, who, although has been on a losing streak for some time, was at one point one of the best boxers in the world, and he shows videos of himself practicing on the Wing Chun dummy. Both of these fighters use Jeet Kune Do and Wing Chun style trapping and countering, just like Bruce Lee did in the early days of Jeet Kune Do. Finally, Bruce Lee was also one of the early advocates of incorporating grappling and ground fighting into a stand-up game. You can see photos and diagrams of him demonstrating takedown defense. He also predicted the success of the single leg and double leg takedown, particularly with like a high jab and a dive in for a single or double leg, which has become like one of the bread and butter techniques of MMA fighters nowadays when transitioning to grappling. And this was literally in the 60s and early 70s, which shows incredible forward thinking and a fantastic knowledge of what would actually be successful in real life in combat. And finally, the way he blended different elements of boxing, wrestling, judo and many other martial arts foreshadowed the rise of MMA perfectly. However, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. It's possible that MMA would have become the same sport it is today even without Bruce Lee. However, we can see from his early work on Jeet Kune Do just how much of it crosses over. And although Jeet Kune Do as a single style might be hard to market or hard to sell, its influence is certainly everywhere. So generally you won't find a Jeet Kune Do stylist dominating MMA tournaments. However, the techniques, principles and concepts are all there, simply hidden under the surface. Unfortunately for Bruce Lee himself, the man was simply too far ahead of his time. If you enjoyed this video, let me know who do you think embodies this style best in MMA. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other videos for more deep dives into martial arts. Until next time, train hard, stay safe, thanks for watching.